Australia's most loved environmental asset, the Great Barrier Reef, has faced many threats over the years. Everything from marine pollution to predatory starfish have endangered the World Heritage listed site. Now, massive port developments and dredging are fuelling new concerns, and the United Nations agency UNESCO is considering listing the reef as in danger. Against this backdrop, 730 has learned of disturbing accusations about the body charged with protecting the reef, the Barrier Reef Marine Park Authority. Our investigation has revealed two of the authority's board members have links to mining and resources companies that could benefit from port developments. They also have links to the family of infamous New South Wales politician Eddie Obeid, who's currently facing another corruption inquiry. At the same time, the authority board is accused of watering down its policy on protecting the reef against such developments. Connor Duffy has this exclusive report.
Clear waters, diving and famed white sands make the Whitsunday Islands a paradise for visitors from all around the world. Dive master Tony Fonts was one of them. He came for a 2-week holiday 30 years ago.
I discovered the Great Barrier Reef. It was really quite simple. When I left California in 1978, my plans were to travel the world as a backpacking dive instructor. Once I hit Australia, that was the end of my plans, and I've been here since.
Today he's heading to Manta Ray Bay for a dive spot that's one of the best in the Whitsundays.
Well, my favourite are the corals, but your favourite's going to be the fish. And you're going to meet the Maori wrasse, which is just about as big as you are, but very friendly, very friendly.
In this underwater world, the giant Maori wrasse lie in wait to catch the eye and to feed. There's coral bommies as big as a house. The colours are rich and varied. And with so many fish to go with the coral, Manta Ray Bay is one of the best dives in one of the wonders of the world. But Tony Fonts fears this paradise is at risk from developments up and down the Queensland coast.
Well, we've got Abbott Point just to the north, which is quite small at the moment, but if it goes ahead as planned, it'll be the largest coal export port on the planet. And if Mackay, just to the south, goes ahead as planned, it'll be the second largest coal export port on the planet. And the Whitsundays lies right in the middle.
Just 50 kilometres north of here at Abbott Point, plans are underway to build the world's biggest coal port, with a final decision due in mid-December. If the federal minister approves it, 3 million cubic metres of mud will be dredged up, then dumped in the Great Barrier Reef World Heritage Area.
This is the spot along the reef that's closest to the port, and of course I worry. I worry for the entire Great Barrier Reef, but the Whitsundays is the jewel in the crown. So with ports north and south, we're kind of in the middle of a hard spot.
Charter boat operators are among a growing number of tourism businesses pushing back against the dredge dumping plans. There are fears the plumes from the dredging will travel here, muddying the famously clear waters and even damaging reefs. Charter boat veteran Tony Brown is organising a coalition of local businesses and is meeting with the Federal Environment Minister Greg Hunt tomorrow.
Let's have a look at other options out there. Do we need to really dump the spoil in the Barrier Reef? Is it that necessary? Or is this just an economics that means it's the cheapest option and we can just go ahead and do this and forget about it?
The company building Abbott Point, North Queensland Bulk Ports, says a 2-year assessment shows the impact from the dredge will be limited. But another report, commissioned by the Great Barrier Reef Marine Park and disputed by the port, found the pollution could travel much further than previously thought.
Nobody knows the impact. They did some dredging in Gladstone, as many people are aware, based on science, and the science was wrong. It has been a total disaster.
Save our reef! Save our reef!
The debate is playing out up and down the cities hugging the Barrier Reef coast, with dredging and massive port expansions planned in Gladstone, Mackay, Abbott Point, Townsville and Cairns. That'll mean big dumps of contaminated mud throughout the World Heritage Area.
They're looking at Townsville 5.6 million cubic metres. We're looking at Abbott Point of 3 million cubic metres, Gladstone 12 million cubic metres, Cairns looking at 5 million cubic metres.
Last year, dredging at Gladstone was blamed by local fishermen for a mass fish kill, though the port's operators dispute that.
Yeah, we look at Gladstone, what happened down there with the fishing industry. No one really knows what's created their problems. But we sure as hell don't want to have that issue happening here, and that would be just devastating.
The body that has the job of protecting the reef is the federal government's Great Barrier Reef Marine Park Authority. It's headed by a 5-person board, but environmentalists are now accusing 2 of those board members of having a conflict of interest. The first is Queensland's top public servant, John Grayson, who represents the state government on the board. He owns a 1/6 share of a company called Gasfields Water and Waste Services, founded in June this year.
This particular company stands to profit from the growth of the gas industry, and the gas industry, in order to expand, wants to have massive new developments, particularly in Gladstone. So we think that there are questions about whether Mr Grayson would benefit from the expansion of gas ports in Gladstone.
Until 2 months ago, one of the 5 other shares in Gasfield Water was owned by Eddie Obeid Jr., the son of notorious former New South Wales Minister Eddie Obeid, who was found to have acted corruptly in other mining deals. Eddie Obeid Jr. sold his stake in August.
Just up here in Townsville, Tony Mooney, our candidate for Herbert, a terrific candidate in this area.
The other Marine Park Authority board member in the sights of environmentalists is former Labor candidate Tony Mooney, who unsuccessfully ran for federal parliament in 2010. He was also Labor Mayor of Townsville for 19 years and was appointed to the Marine Park Board by the Gillard government in 2011.
And I've got the experience to deliver.
Queensland electoral records show he received a $5,000 donation for his 2010 campaign from the Obeid Corporation. Mr Mooney's day job is here at Guildford Coal, where he's a mining executive paid $250,000 as manager of stakeholder relations. The company plans to run 6 coal mines in Queensland.
The Townsville Port wants to break into the billion-dollar coal industry and...
Guildford Coal helped fund a feasibility study into the Townsville Port expansion, signing a memorandum of understanding with the port.
Tony Mooney gets paid up to $250,000 a year to manage stakeholders for a coal company. I'm sure it's a lot easier to manage a stakeholder like the Marine Park Authority if you sit directly on the board.
Tony Mooney denies there's a conflict of interest, but told us he declared his employment with Guildford. The company's website still trumpets the port memorandum and also has this quote from Mr Mooney from a mining industry publication.
We think there is a niche opportunity for the export of some coal through the Port of Townsville, and we're obliged to look at that opportunity and to weigh that up, exporting through the soon-to-be upgraded Abbott Point facility.
In March last year, the Great Barrier Reef Board held a critical meeting in Gladstone. Tony Mooney was one of 5 people present. Their job was to formulate the Marine Park's position statement on port development. It was to be a crucial document. Before the board was a recommendation from authority scientists that it take a tough line. The draft statement prepared by its experts read,
"The authority will not support port activities or developments in locations that have the potential to degrade inshore biodiversity."
At the next board meeting, this time in Townsville on September 5, 2012, minutes record the board requested the position statement be changed. Both Tony Mooney and John Grayson took part. The new watered-down version dropped the reference to not supporting port expansions and instead said this.
The board requested that the position statement be changed to, in making decisions regarding port development, the potential impacts on inshore biodiversity should be a key consideration.
Environmentalists believe that change from the board is crucial and could decide whether a port development is approved or knocked back.
The port's position statement will guide the authority in how it applies the rules relating to port development along the coast. So it could make the difference between whether the authority supports a development or opposes it.
There is no indication of the position individual members took, but Greenpeace campaigner Louise Mattison says a number of clauses were weakened and believes both men should resign from the board.
I think it would greatly increase the confidence that the Australian public and the international community could have in the management of the reef if these two men stepped aside from the board. The new Environment Minister, Greg Hunt, was not responsible for appointing them. We'd urge him to take a close look at their interests and revisit the decision to have them on the board.
After the changes, the position statement was approved and sent out for consultation, with a request from the board for more extensive consultation with the mining industry. It still hasn't been publicly released. In a statement, the Marine Park Authority says board members with different qualifications lead to more robust debates, and the changes to the position statement were appropriate.
The board asked for the change to the initial words as a matter of clarification, because if taken literally, they would mean opposition to any activity whatsoever, no matter how insignificant the impact might be.
John Grayson also declined an on-camera interview, but a spokeswoman for the Premier issued this statement to 7:30.
The Queensland Government rejects any suggestion Mr Grayson has a conflict of interest. Following his appointment, and in accordance with the Queensland Integrity Commissioner's advice, Mr Grayson ceased to have any management involvement in active companies. His retention of passive interests is in accordance with the Commissioner's advice and poses no real or potential conflict of interest.
Former Marine Park Authority board member Daniel Geschwind is worried by the weaker position on ports.
Is that something that would concern you? Absolutely. Port development is one of those things that we can influence. We know from the science, which has been very strong over the last few years, over the last couple of decades, very, very much more supportive of the kind of debates that we're having. We know from that science that one of the great man-made threats to the reef is sedimentation, is water quality.
I can remember coming here near 30 years ago, Taylor. You wouldn't believe it used to be a really nice dive site.
Back in the Whitsundays, Tony Fonts is showing his son Taylor a reef locals believe has been damaged by dredging on a much smaller scale than Abbott Point. They capture footage showing murky water quality and a much diminished dive.
Although the dredge spoils were tipped onto land, not into the sea, the disturbance of the seabed loosened up the soil, and now, and this was about 2.5, 3 years ago, anytime you get not even a big weather event, just a strong wind, you'll see the sediment rise up and move offshore. And some of the nearshore islands, the visibility has been compromised for the last 3 years from a very small dredge event.
With major decisions on ports looming up and down the coast, many on both sides are gearing up for a fight that could get dirty.